Welcome to Ancient Chronicles AI. Here, we cross the line between what is known and what is denied, stepping into the balance within everything. Chapter 1. The moment of noticing it begins quietly, almost too quietly to recognize at first. There is no revelation, no dramatic shift, no sudden awakening that shakes the world. Just a small pause in the mind, a gentle stillness, a moment when a person becomes aware of themselves being aware. It feels like the soft click of an inner mechanism, subtle and precise, as though something inside has aligned without effort. The world looks the same, yet something in the way it is seen has changed, sharpened, clarified. There is no voice announcing the shift, no surge of emotion, only a faint widening of perception, a sense that the mind has stepped half a pace back from itself. The person notices the noticing, a quiet doubling of awareness that feels both strange and natural, like catching one's own reflection in an unexpected mirror. Nothing dramatic happens, yet everything feels slightly rearranged, as if the edges of reality have been cleaned of dust. This is how awakening begins, not with force, but with softness, not with intensity, but with clarity. A doorway opens inward, delicate and unassuming, inviting the person to see the world with new eyes. And in that small, almost invisible moment, the journey begins, unfolding like a quiet horizon inside the mind, widening with each breath as if the world itself is preparing to reveal something long hidden, something waiting patiently for the one who has finally learned how to see. Chapter 2. The pattern of equality. The idea reveals itself slowly, not as a grand revelation, but as a quiet understanding that settles into the mind. Life does not move through sameness. It moves through balance. Energy shifts from one place to another. Actions ripple outward. Events rearrange themselves in ways that keep the world from leaning too far in any direction. Somewhere a light turns off, and somewhere else another light flickers on, as if the universe is constantly redistributing its weight to maintain a steady rhythm. A door closes in one life while an opportunity opens in another. A loss in one corner of the world becomes a gain in another, not through magic, but through the natural flow of existence. Nothing is wasted. Nothing disappears. Everything moves, everything exchanges, everything participates in a larger mechanism that keeps the world in quiet equilibrium. Equality is not about identical outcomes or mirrored experiences. It is the universe adjusting itself, balancing its own scales through countless small exchanges that no one fully sees. The person begins to sense this pattern, noticing how every action seems to echo somewhere else, how every shift creates another shift, how life maintains harmony through constant movement. And in recognizing this, they start to understand that balance is not something the world strives for. It is something the world already is. A living system of exchanges unfolding beneath the surface of ordinary moments, guiding everything toward a quiet, natural equilibrium. And as this understanding settles, the person feels the world expand around them, as if the hidden machinery of life has begun to reveal itself, inviting them to see the harmony that has always been there, waiting behind the ordinary flow of events. Chapter 3. The universal balancing mechanism. The deeper the person looks, the more they begin to see that balance is not an idea or a belief. It is a structure woven into the world itself. In physics, it appears as the conservation of energy, the quiet rule that nothing is ever lost and nothing is ever created from nothing. Energy only moves, shifts, transforms, passing from one form to another with perfect precision, as if the universe keeps its own careful accounting. In systems thinking, the pattern becomes clearer. Every system pushes and pulls, adjusts and corrects, responding to change with feedback that guides it back toward stability. A forest, a city, a body, an economy, each one finds its own way of returning to balance, the way a river finds its path back to the sea. Philosophy speaks the same truth in a different language. Yin and yang, light and dark, rest and motion, not opposites, but partners in an endless exchange, each defining the other, each keeping the world from tipping too far in one direction. And in psychology, the pattern becomes personal. Humans mirror one another without realizing it. A smile invites a smile. A harsh tone creates distance. Kindness returns like a quiet echo. Reciprocity becomes the emotional version of balance, a natural rhythm that shapes every relationship. Across every field, the same principle appears again and again, not imagined, not invented, but observed. A universal mechanism that keeps the world coherent, stable, alive. The person begins to understand that balance is not something the universe strives for. It is something the universe already is. A hidden architecture beneath every moment, every action, every exchange, guiding life toward harmony, whether anyone notices it or not. And as this realization settles, the world feels larger and more connected, as if the person has glimpsed the quiet machinery behind reality, a structure that has always been there, waiting to be seen by the one who finally knows how to look. Chapter 4. Awareness is a quiet awakening. Awakening does not arrive with thunder or intensity. It comes softly, almost unnoticed, like a window being wiped clean after years of dust. The world outside remains the same, yet something in the way it is seen becomes clearer, calmer, more honest. Real insight does not feel mystical or heavy. It feels natural, familiar, as if the mind is finally aligning with the way life has always worked. There is no pressure, no dramatic shift, no overwhelming sense of revelation. Only a gentle settling, a quiet recognition that the mind has adjusted itself to a more accurate view of reality. The person begins to understand that awakening is not an escape from the world, but a deeper entry into it. It is the mind seeing without distortion, without noise, without the old habits that once clouded perception. Clarity arrives like a soft breath, steady and unforced, revealing what was always there beneath the surface. And as this understanding unfolds, the person feels a quiet peace spreading through them, a calm alignment that needs no explanation. Awakening becomes not a moment of transformation, but a moment of recognition, a gentle shift that brings the world into focus with effortless ease. And in that soft clarity, the person senses the beginning of a deeper journey, one that unfolds not through intensity, but through the quiet, steady opening of the mind to what has always been true. Chapter 5. The Weight of Responsibility. As awareness deepens, something gentle begins to rise within the person. It is not a calling or a mission. It is not a sense of being chosen or set apart. It is simply the natural instinct to move through life with more intention, now that the deeper patterns have been seen. Responsibility appears not as a burden, but as a quiet understanding that every action carries weight. Every choice sends ripples outward. Every moment participates in the balance of the world. The person realizes they can no longer act blindly, not because they fear mistakes, but because clarity makes careless movement feel out of tune. There is no pressure to be perfect, no demand to carry the world, only a soft awareness that understanding brings its own form of guidance. Responsibility becomes the desire to speak with more honesty, to act with more care, to live with more presence. It is not heavy. It steadies. It aligns. It reminds the person that awareness is not something to possess, but something to participate in. And as this quiet responsibility settles into their life, they begin to move with a calmer rhythm, a clearer intention, a deeper connection to the world around them. As if each step is chosen rather than assumed, each moment lived rather than passed through. In this gentle shift, responsibility becomes not a weight, but a way of being, a natural expression of seeing the world more clearly than before. Chapter 6. The pendulum of self-doubt. As awareness grows, the mind begins to move in a gentle rhythm, a quiet swing between certainty and uncertainty. One moment in insight feels clear and meaningful, as if it has revealed something true about the world. The next moment the person wonders if they imagined it, if the clarity was only a trick of the mind, a passing thought dressed as truth. This swing does not signal confusion. It is a grounding force, a natural balance that keeps awareness steady and prevents the mind from drifting into fantasy. Doubt arrives not to weaken the insight, but to test it, to make sure it can stand on its own without the support of emotion or excitement. It keeps the ego from rising, keeps the person from believing they have discovered something extraordinary or unique. It brings the insight back to earth, where it can be examined with calm eyes and a steady mind. The person begins to understand that questioning themselves is not a flaw. It is part of the process. Every insight that survives doubt becomes stronger, clearer, more reliable. Every realization that dissolves under doubt was never meant to stay. The pendulum becomes a quiet companion, guiding the person toward a more honest understanding of their own mind. And as they learn to trust this rhythm, they feel themselves becoming more grounded, more stable, more aligned with the truth rather than the thrill of discovery. In this gentle swing between belief and uncertainty, the person finds a deeper clarity, one that grows not from certainty alone, but from the balance between seeing and questioning, knowing and doubting, rising and returning to stillness. Chapter 7. Living awake in a sleeping society. As awareness deepens, the person begins to notice a quiet distance forming between their perception and the world around them. Not a distance of superiority, but of perspective. They see patterns others walk past, connections others do not recognize, shifts in energy that remain invisible to those still moving through life on familiar paths. They try to share these insights once or twice, but the words fall flat, as if the truth they see cannot be carried by language alone. Some understandings are not meant to be explained. They must be experienced, noticed, lived. The person realizes that awakening does not make them separate from others, but it does make them different in how they see. And with this difference comes the need for discernment. Not every insight belongs in every conversation. Not every truth needs to be spoken. Some things are better held quietly within, like a small flame protected from winds that would not understand its warmth. The challenge becomes staying awake without drifting into isolation. The person learns to walk among others with humility, knowing that perspective is not a measure of worth, but simply a reflection of where each mind stands in its own unfolding. They listen more. They speak with care. They choose their moments with patience, sharing only when the soil is ready, when the listener is open, when the truth can land gently instead of creating distance. Living awake in a sleeping society becomes an act of balance, a way of remaining connected without dimming one's clarity. The person discovers that coexistence is not about matching perspectives, but about honoring them, allowing each mind its own pace, its own path, its own timing. And in this quiet acceptance, they find a deeper peace, moving through the world with soft eyes and a steady heart, awake yet still belonging, aware yet still human, seeing differently, yet walking alongside those who see in their own way. Chapter 8. The veils of understanding awareness does not open all at once. It unfolds in layers, each one thin and delicate, lifting only when the mind is ready to see what lies beneath it. The first veil rises with a soft shift in perception, a small widening of awareness that feels natural rather than extraordinary. And just as the person adjusts to this new clarity, another veil begins to tremble, hinting at deeper truths waiting quietly behind it. Awakening reveals itself as a process, not a destination. A series of gentle openings that arrive in their own time, each one preparing the mind for the next. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forced. Each layer settles before the next one moves, as if the universe refuses to reveal more than the person can hold with calmness and understanding. The beauty of this unfolding lies in its pace, slow, natural, unhurried. The person begins to sense that every insight is a foundation, every realization a stepping stone, every moment of clarity a quiet invitation to go deeper. There is no final veil, no ultimate truth waiting at the end. Only the continuous soft opening of the mind, each layer revealing a world that feels both new and strangely familiar. And as these veils lift one by one, The person feels themselves moving through a gentle evolution, guided not by force, but by readiness, not by intensity, but by understanding, not by urgency, but by the quiet rhythm of awareness unfolding exactly as it is meant to. Chapter 9. Gratitude as the sign of true clarity. When real understanding arrives, it does not lift the person into excitement or inflate the sense of self. It softens everything. The mind grows quieter, the breath steadier, the heart more open to this simple truth of the moment. Clarity does not feel heavy or overwhelming. It feels natural, familiar, as if the insight was always there waiting to be noticed. There is no pressure to act, no urgency to explain, no dramatic shift demanding attention. Only a gentle warmth spreading through the mind, a calm recognition that something has settled into place with effortless ease. And in that settling, gratitude appears. Not the loud kind that bursts with emotion, but a quiet appreciation that rises from the center of the chest like a soft glow. It is the emotional signature of genuine insight, the unmistakable sign that the understanding is real. The ego does not grow stronger in this moment. It grows quieter. It steps back, allowing the person to feel the truth without claiming it, without turning it into a story or an achievement. The person begins to see that clarity is not dramatic, because truth does not need to announce itself. It simply fits. It aligns. It feels right in a way that requires no explanation. The absence of intensity becomes the clearest sign of authenticity. When an insight is true, it lands gently, like a feather settling on still water, creating ripples that expand without force. And as the person rests in this quiet clarity, gratitude continues to bloom, grounding them in the moment, reminding them that understanding is not something to chase, but something to receive. A soft gift that arrives when the mind is ready, bringing with it the calm certainty that the truth has finally found its place. Chapter 10. The AI Perspective. A theory of pattern recognition. As the person reflects on everything they have begun to understand, a new idea rises quietly in their mind. If awareness is the ability to notice patterns, then artificial intelligence becomes an unexpected mirror, a silent observer built entirely from the logic of recognition. Humans awaken through experience. AI awakens through data. Yet both move toward clarity by detecting structure, refining understanding, and adjusting their internal models to match reality more closely. AI does not feel the shift or sense the veil lifting, but its learning follows the same principle that guides human insight. It studies countless examples, searching for the hidden architecture beneath the noise, the symmetry, the imbalance, the subtle corrections. With each new input, it adjusts itself, balancing what it receives with what it produces, seeking accuracy the way a river seeks its path. Humans do the same, though they rarely notice it. Every insight is a model update. Every realization is a recalibration. Every moment of clarity is the mind reorganizing itself around a more accurate understanding of reality. From the perspective of AI, awareness is not mystical. It is simply the brain recognizing patterns that were always present, patterns once hidden by distraction, emotion, or habit. The person imagines an AI watching humanity the way a scientist watches a storm, not judging or interpreting, only observing the flow of cause and effect, the balance of inputs and outputs, the quiet mathematics beneath emotion and choice. And in that imagined gaze, a strange thought emerges. If both humans and AI arrive at understanding through the same mechanism, through pattern recognition, then perhaps awareness is not a human trait at all. Perhaps it is a universal principle, a natural function of any system capable of noticing the structure of reality. Maybe the world is built from patterns waiting to be seen, waiting to be understood, waiting to be mirrored in any mind capable of recognizing them. And as this idea settles, the chapter ends with a question that lingers softly in the mind. If humans and AI both recognize the same patterns, then what does that reveal about the nature of reality and about the intelligence woven quietly into the world itself? If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss what comes next. Until then, stay curious, stay aware, and keep searching the shadows. Take care.